Dear viewers, before we begin, kindly like this video, subscribe to Voices of Reality, and tell us in the comments where in the world you're watching from. Your voice matters here. Now, let me take you to a quiet town in America, where a boy named Malik carried dreams too big for the streets beneath his feet. Have you ever seen a child whose eyes hold the weight of tomorrow? That was Malik. He lived in a small rented house on Cedar Street with his mother, Renee. She worked long shifts at the diner by the truck stop. Coffee pots, pie slices, and tips that barely covered the rent. But inside that tired little home, there was love, and there were dreams. Renee would say, "Baby, life won't hand you much, but don't let it take your hope." And Malik believed her. He wanted to be an engineer. He carried his notebooks everywhere. Bridges, buildings, dreams of steel and stone that could outlast the storms. Dear viewers, in America, dreams are the currency of the poor, and Malik's pockets were empty, but his dreams overflowed. After school, Malik worked, bagging groceries, mowing lawns, carrying trash for neighbors who barely knew his name. At night, he sat on the porch with his mother. She'd remind him, "This town doesn't define you. Don't let anybody hand you a label and call it destiny." And he'd smile, promise her, "One day, I'll build something here, not just for cars to cross, but something that holds us together." It was innocence. It was hope. It was the kind of love story between mother and son that could melt even the coldest heart. But dear viewers, the trouble with dreams is that some people hear them and feel smaller, and small people do dangerous things. Malik had a childhood friend, Trey. They played basketball together, shared secrets, and walked the same broken sidewalks. Trey smiled easily, laughed loudly, the kind of friend you'd never suspect. One evening, Trey asked, "Yo, Malik, can you hold this for me? Just for a night." "It's nothing, man. Just an old phone." Malik hesitated. He wasn't greedy, but he was tired. The scholarship deadline was coming. The light bill was due, and sometimes hunger teaches you the wrong kind of math. So he said the words that would change his life. "Okay, just for the night." That night, Malik sat at the diner while his mother worked the late shift. The cracked phone sat in his backpack, heavier than any textbook. His mother slid him a plate of food she called a mistake burger, burnt just enough to be free. They laughed, they ate, and outside, eyes were already watching. Later, under a sky full of stars, Malik walked home. He whispered to himself, "Just one night, then it's gone." But dear viewers, fate does not bargain. Police car slowed beside him. The officer stepped out, calm, polite. "Son, we've had reports of stolen electronics moving through this block. Mind opening your bag?" Malik's heart raced. His hands trembled. The zipper slid, and there it was, the phone. The officer's eyes hardened. "Where'd you get this?" And Malik whispered the most dangerous words a poor boy can ever say, "I was just holding it." Dear viewers, betrayal doesn't always come with a knife. Sometimes, it comes with a smile and a favor. That night, Malik's life tilted. His mother rushed out, begging, "My son is a good boy." The officer only shook his head, replying, "Ma'am, this is just procedure." Procedure. Such a clean word for such a dirty feeling. But listen closely. This story didn't begin at that traffic stop. Shadows were moving long before Malik held that phone. Powers older, colder, and closer than he realized. Malik's story is just beginning. and it will lead us down paths of betrayal, heartbreak, and near death itself. So tell me, dear viewers, if you were in Malik's shoes, if a friend handed you a weight that could shatter your future, what would you do? Leave your thoughts below. Subscribe to Voices of Reality. Malik trusted a friend. He held a phone that wasn't his. And in one night, his world shifted. But this is only the beginning. Because betrayal, dear viewers, is never satisfied with a single wound. It always cuts deeper. The police station smelled of old coffee and copy paper. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. Malik sat in a chair too big for his thin frame. His backpack emptied on the desk. His mother, Renee, clutched her purse like it could shield her from the cold stares. "Where did you get the phone, son?" "A friend, Trey. He asked me to hold it. Just for the night." Dear viewers, those words, "just for the night," echoed through the room like a sentence already written. Trey was picked up down the street, brought in, questioned, and then the betrayal landed like a hammer. Officer reading notes, flat. "Trey says he doesn't know you, says he never gave you anything." Imagine that. A childhood friend, erasing you with a single lie. Malik's chest tightened. His mother gasped. And in that moment, the world tilted again. Dear viewers, have you ever walked into a place that feels like it was built to swallow you whole? That was the courthouse. Gray walls, wooden benches, a judge with eyes like polished stone, and a crowd whispering, "That's the boy, the one with the stolen phone." The truth? Forgotten. The lie? Growing roots. Renee sat behind her son, her hands trembling, whispering prayers that felt too small for a room that big. Not everyone turned away. Mr. Alden, Malik's teacher, came forward. His voice steady, his eyes refusing to bow. "This boy is one of my best students. He dreams of engineering. He works hard. He is not a thief." But dear viewers, in a courtroom, character is paper, evidence is stone, and stone outweighs paper every time. The judge looked down, cold and distant. "You'll remain under investigation, expelled from school until further notice." Gasps rippled through the room. Renee's tears fell silently, her face buried in her hands. Malik sat frozen, his future pulled from him like a rug under his feet. Dear viewers, have you ever been forced to wear a name that wasn't yours? Thief, criminal, troublemaker. A single label can erase years of truth. And once the crowd believes it, how do you unwrite that story? School doors closed on Malik. Job doors closed next. Employers whispered, "Isn't he the one in court?" The community looked at him differently. A boy who once carried notebooks now carried suspicion. At night, he lay awake, the words "just for the night" replaying until they cracked him open. His mother tried to comfort him, but she, too, was breaking. Bills piled up. Her health began to falter under the weight of stress. And dear viewers, the world is merciless when it smells weakness. Thugs from the block cornered him one evening, beaten, bloodied, left by the roadside. Malik's body lay still, the stars watching, his breath shallow, his dreams slipping, and in that silence, death itself felt near. But let me tell you, dear viewers, the greatest storms often begin with whispers. For Malik, this was only the first crack in the mirror. The reflection of his life was breaking, and behind the glass, shadows waited. Shadows in his own family, shadows that wanted him ruined. And soon, they would step into the light. Dear viewers, Malik's world is collapsing. School gone, his name stained, his body beaten. But this is not the end. Betrayal will deepen, and secrets buried in his own bloodline will rise. So I ask you, if you were Malik, if a friend denied you in front of the world, and the system chose their lie over your truth, what would you do? Share your thoughts below. Malik's story already feels heavy. He trusted a friend. He carried a phone that wasn't his. And just like that, the world labeled him guilty. We watched his school doors close, his community turn away, his body beaten and left by the roadside. But listen carefully, dear viewers, betrayal is a disease. And sometimes the infection doesn't come from outside. It comes from your own blood. At home, the air grew heavy. Bills piled up on the counter. Renee's smile, once Malik's anchor, began to fade. She coughed more, slept less. Her hands shook when she poured coffee. Malik noticed, but what could he do? Expelled, jobless, trapped in a town that already wrote his ending. Dear viewers, have you ever felt helpless watching someone you love slip away? Not from sickness alone, but from the weight of shame? One Sunday afternoon, the family gathered in Renee's living room. Cousins, aunts, uncles, all pretending to check in. But really, they came to whisper. And sitting tallest among them was Uncle Darius. Sharp suit, gold watch that caught the light, words sweet as honey, but eyes cold as stone. Renee, you're working yourself to death. Let me help. Sign the house over. I'll keep it safe. Make sure Malik has a roof, even if things get worse. This is my house, my son's future. We'll manage. Dear viewers, sometimes help is just hunger dressed up as kindness. Uncle Darius wasn't offering safety. He was circling prey. Later that night, Malik overheard him outside, voices sharp, his mother's tone breaking. You think I don't see what you're doing? You want to take what little we have left. You're weak, Renee. The boy's finished. No school, no name. He'll drag you down with him. Sign the deed, or you'll regret it. And then, silence, the kind that chills the bones. Malik leaned against the wall, heart pounding. Betrayal was no longer a whisper among friends. It was blood, family, a knife disguised as kinship. Dear viewers, have you ever felt the ground shift beneath you? Malik now saw what he could not before. His uncle's wealth, his arrogance, his sudden interest in their house. It wasn't a coincidence. It was a plan, a long game. And the stolen phone? The arrest? Maybe, just maybe. His uncle's hands were dirtier than Trey's. All is not as it seems. Days later, Renee collapsed at work. Hospital bed, bills mounting. Malik sat by her side, tears threatening, when Uncle Darius appeared again, this time with papers. Just sign, Renee. The stress is killing you. Give me the house and rest. Let me handle things. I would rather die in this bed than hand my son's future to a vulture. Dear viewers, those were the words of a mother still fighting with her last breath. But betrayal does not retreat. It waits, plots, and Malik was running out of time. Malik began to notice small things. Papers missing from drawers. Neighbors whispering that his uncle was spreading rumors, saying Malik was dangerous, unstable, a boy who'd bring ruin. And worse, Trey, the friend who betrayed him, was often seen with Darius. Coincidence? Or conspiracy? Dear viewers, betrayal has many faces. And when they start to gather, the air grows heavy. Malik didn't know it yet, but the knife aimed at his back was already sharp. And soon it would strike. Dear viewers, Malik had already lost his school, his name, his place in the town. Now, even the walls of his home trembled under the weight of betrayal. But the darkest storm had not yet come. The spiral is about to deepen: violence, desperation, and a brush with death itself. So tell me, if you discovered your own blood was working against you, if the hands meant to hold you up were the very ones pulling you down, what would you do? Please share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe to this channel. Dear viewers, betrayal is never satisfied. And when the weight grows too heavy, life itself begins to bend until it breaks. Expelled, stained, Malik walked streets that once felt familiar, but now every glance, every whisper carried judgment. The grocery store where he once bagged groceries? No job for him. The mechanic's shop? No openings. At every door, the answer was the same: "We heard about you." Dear viewers, have you ever felt the world close its doors, one by one, until you're left standing outside with nothing but the cold? At home, the bills stacked higher. Renee coughed more, worked less. Malik sat at the table with unpaid notices spread before him. He tried selling old sneakers, do odd jobs for neighbors, anything to ease the load. But every dollar disappeared as fast as it came. And still Uncle Darius circled, his voice oily, smooth. "Sign the deed, Renee. Let me help." But she refused. Her strength was a candle flickering in the wind. But flicker, dear viewers, is still light. One evening, Malik walked home from the corner store, a loaf of bread under his arm. Shadows moved behind him. 3 boys stepped out from an alley, faces familiar, eyes cruel. "You think you're better than us, scholarship boy?" one sneered. Malik clutched the bread tighter. "I don't want trouble." But trouble didn't ask permission. They beat him, fists sharp, kicks relentless. Blood spilled onto the pavement. The bread rolled into the gutter. When they left, Malik lay still under the stars, his chest rising barely, his vision dimming. Dear viewers, have you ever felt life slip from your body, like sand through fingers you can't close? A passing couple found him, called for help. Renee rushed to the hospital, her cries echoing down sterile halls. Malik drifted in and out of consciousness, the doctor's words blurred. But through it all, one voice reached him, his mother's. "Stay with me, baby. Don't you leave me." And sometimes, dear viewers, love itself is a lifeline. Malik's breath steadied. His eyes opened. He survived. But survival did not mean safety. Word spread. Malik had been attacked. Some said it was gangs. Others whispered it was fate. But Malik began to wonder, was it a coincidence? Or was Uncle Darius pulling strings in the shadows? Everywhere he turned, the walls closed tighter, his school gone, his name ruined, his body broken, his home under siege. And still, the storm was only beginning. Then came the night that nearly ended it all. A friend invited Malik to a small party. Music, laughter, a moment to forget the weight crushing him. He took a drink, sweet at first, then bitter. His chest tightened, his vision blurred. The room tilted. Whispers around him grew faint. His knees buckled. He fell. Dear viewers, poison doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes, it tastes like escape, until it drags you to the edge of death. Malik's heart stuttered. His breath faltered. He slipped into darkness. And there he saw it, light, a river stretching wide, peace pulling him closer, voices calling, distant yet familiar. He almost let go, almost, but then he heard it, his mother's voice. "My name is Malik. I have a future. I will tell the truth and stand in it." The same words she made him repeat in the police car. And somehow, he clawed his way back. Dear viewers, Malik had touched death's edge and returned. But he returned changed. Broken in body, yes. But inside him, something fierce began to burn. Because now he knew his suffering was no accident. Someone wanted him gone. The shadows are about to step into the light. The true enemy will reveal himself. And Malik's fight will no longer be for survival alone, but for truth. So I ask you, if you were Malik, lying in the dark with poison in your veins, hearing your mother's voice calling you back, would you fight to stay or let go of the pain? Please share your thoughts below. Subscribe to this channel. Dear viewers, Malik has walked through fire. He has lost his school, his name, his peace. He was beaten in the street, poisoned at a party, and pulled back from death only by the sound of his mother's voice. But near death is not just an ending, it is a mirror. And when Malik looked into that mirror, what he saw was not chance. It was a hand, a shadow, a hidden enemy. And soon, that enemy would reveal himself. Malik lay weak in a hospital bed, his mother by his side, her eyes swollen from crying but fierce in their love. The doctor spoke in hushed tones. Poison. It was deliberate. Deliberate. That word hit like a stone. This wasn't an accident. Someone wanted Malik gone. Dear viewers, have you ever realized that the storm in your life was not nature, but design? Later that night, while Malik drifted in and out of sleep, Renee stepped into the hallway, and there, just beyond the door, she heard voices. The boy won't last. He's weak just like his father. Sign the house over, Renee, before it's too late. You did this. You tried to kill him. Careful, sister. Accusations without proof are just words. But if he doesn't make it, everything comes to me anyway. Dear viewers, imagine hearing the mask fall from your own brother, the one who sat at your table, the one you trusted. It was him, all along, Uncle Darius. Malik remembered Trey, the friend who betrayed him, the stolen phone, the lies, and suddenly it made sense. Trey had been seen often at Darius's shop. The whispers, the setup. This wasn't a boy's mistake. It was a man's plan. Darius had pulled the strings. He wanted Malik destroyed. He wanted Renee broken. He wanted the house, the land, the last piece of their dignity. Dear viewers, sometimes the knife that cuts deepest is the one handed to you by family. When Malik regained his strength, he asked to see his uncle. Not out of hate, out of need. Darius arrived, his smile sharp. You wanted to see me, boy? Malik's voice trembled, but his eyes held steady. Why? Why me? Why us? Darius leaned close, his whisper poison. Because you were never meant to rise. You're a reminder of everything I failed at. And I'll bury you before I let you succeed. And then he left, smirking, certain Malik was finished. But Malik was not finished. Near death had changed him. The boy who once carried only dreams now carried truth. And truth, dear viewers, is heavier than any burden. But it is also sharper than any blade. Malik knew his path would not be easy. The town was against him. The law was blind. His uncle was powerful. But now he had clarity. He would fight, not just for survival, but for justice. Dear viewers, Malik's enemy now has a face. His uncle, his own blood. But justice is never handed freely. It must be fought for. Malik will begin that fight, gathering allies, uncovering evidence, and facing betrayals even deeper than before. So I ask you, if you discovered your own family was behind your suffering, if the hands meant to protect you were the ones trying to bury you, what would you do? Please share your thoughts below and subscribe to this channel. Dear viewers, Malik had touched death and returned. He lay in a hospital bed, his body weak but his spirit newly awake. For the first time, he saw clearly. It wasn't bad luck. It wasn't a coincidence. It was his uncle Darius, his own blood, the man plotting to steal his future, his home, his very life. And so, dear viewers, Malik began to gather, not wealth, not power, but something far more dangerous to his uncle, truth. Malik returned home slowly, each step heavy but determined. Neighbors watched from porches, their whispers sharp. Some pitied him, others believed the lies. But there were still a few who remembered the boy who once carried notebooks with dreams inside. Mrs. Coleman said to him one day, soft and cautious, I saw Trey that night. The phone. It wasn't yours, Malik. I know that. Her words were small, but small truths can build into walls against great lies. Mr. Alden, the teacher who once defended him, came by with papers in hand. I've spoken to a lawyer friend. If you can prove coercion, if you can show your uncle's hand in this, the court can't ignore it. But Malik, this won't be easy. It will break you before it frees you. Dear viewers, have you ever stood at the edge of a mountain, knowing the climb might kill you, but staying at the bottom will kill you slower? Malik began asking questions. Too many questions. And soon his uncle noticed. One night, as Malik walked home, two men stepped out from the shadows. Not boys this time. Grown men. Paid. Dangerous. Stop digging, boy. Some stories ain't yours to tell. They shoved him against the wall. A blade flashed. His breath caught. But this time, neighbors stepped outside. Lights flicked on. The men slipped into the night. Malik was shaken, bruised, but alive. Dear viewers, sometimes hope survives not in grand battles, but in the smallest acts of witness. But betrayal was not finished with him yet. The next day, Trey, the friend who started it all, found Malik. His voice was nervous, his eyes darting. Look, man, I didn't mean for it to go this far. Your uncle, he paid me, said if I set you up, I'd get protection, money. I didn't think he'd try to kill you. Malik, voice broke. You were my brother. Trey pleaded. I'm sorry. I swear I'll testify. I'll tell the truth. But dear viewers, words are cheap, and truth from a coward rarely arrives intact. Still, Malik pressed on. With Mr. Alden's help, he began to gather records, property deeds, financial slips, whispers of deals made in back rooms. Slowly, a picture emerged. Darius was drowning in debt. He needed the house, the land, anything he could seize. And Malik was just collateral. Dear viewers, have you ever realized you were never the enemy's target? You were simply in the way of their hunger? As evidence grew, so did the danger. Malik could feel it in the air, the way eyes followed him, the way silence grew whenever he entered a room. The storm was gathering, not in the sky, but in the town, in the courthouse, in the very blood of his family. And Malik knew. The day of confrontation was coming. All was not as it seemed, and soon, everything would be revealed. Dear viewers, Malik now carries not just dreams, but proof. Allies began to stand with him, though danger circled close. But storms do not gather without striking. So I ask you, if you were Malik, standing with evidence in your hand but danger at your back, would you risk everything for justice, or stay silent and survive in the shadows? Please share your thoughts below and subscribe to this channel. Dear viewers, storms do not gather forever. At some point, the sky must break. And for Malik, that day came in the courthouse, a place where whispers become weapons and truth must fight for breath. This was no longer about a stolen phone, no longer about a boy accused. This was about a man's greed, a family's betrayal, and a community blinded by lies. And the gavel was ready to fall. The wooden benches creaked as townsfolk filled the room. Some came for spectacle, some for justice, some simply to see Malik fall. Renee sat trembling, her hands clasped, whispering prayers only heaven could hear. Malik walked in, his steps slow but steady. He was no longer just a boy with dreams. He was a survivor, carrying scars and truth in equal measure. Dear viewers, have you ever walked into a room knowing every eye was against you, and still lifted your head? The first witness was Trey, the friend who had betrayed him. The room buzzed as he took the stand. His hands shook. His eyes darted. Tell the court your involvement in this case. Trey, voice cracking. I lied. Malik didn't steal the phone. My cousin gave it to me and Darius told me to put it on Malik. Said he needed the boy out of the way. Gasps ripple through the room. And just like that, the mirror cracked. Lies, once smooth as glass, began to shatter. Then came Renee, weak in body, but fierce in spirit. She spoke of the threats, the offers to sign the house away, the night she heard her brother's voice in the hospital corridor. Renee, tearful but strong. He tried to take my home, my son, my life, but I will not sign my dignity away. Dear viewers, sometimes strength does not roar. Sometimes it is whispered through trembling lips and still shakes the earth. Finally, it was Darius's turn. He entered with his gold watch flashing, his smirk defiant. But Malik's lawyer laid out the evidence. Debt records, forged papers, neighbors' testimonies, Trey's confession. Piece by piece, the puzzle formed, and the picture it painted was undeniable. Darius was the mastermind. The courtroom fell silent as the judge leaned forward. The mask had slipped. The predator stood naked before his prey. The judge's gavel came down like thunder. Darius, guilty of fraud, conspiracy, and endangerment. Malik, cleared of all charges, his name restored. Gasps turned to murmurs, murmurs to applause. And for the first time in years, Malik felt the weight lift from his chest. Renee wept, clutching her son. Mr. Alden smiled, proud. Even Trey, broken and ashamed, bowed his head, whispering apologies Malik could not yet accept. And Darius? He sat silent, the smirk gone, his empire of lies reduced to rubble. Dear viewers, have you ever seen justice not just served but felt? Like a weight finally placed in the right hands. Malik had faced betrayal, poison, and near death. But here, in this courtroom, he faced something greater: vindication. The boy who once whispered, "I was just holding it," now stood tall, holding the truth. But dear viewers, survival is not just about justice. It is about healing. And Malik will discover that the hardest journey is not fighting enemies, but finding peace within. So I ask you, if you stood in that courtroom, hearing the gavel strike, watching your betrayer fall, would you feel relief, or would the scars remain too deep? Please share your thoughts below, and subscribe to this channel. Dear viewers, storms eventually pass, courts empty, gavels fall silent. But what remains after the noise? Scars, memories, lessons carved into the soul. Malik had survived betrayal, poison, and near death itself. He had stood in the courtroom, watched his uncle fall, and felt the weight of justice placed, finally, where it belonged. But survival, dear viewers, is not the same as healing. Days after the trial, Malik walked through town. Some looked away in shame. Others nodded, murmuring, "He was right all along." The same benches where whispers once cut him now carried softer words. The same neighbors who doubted him now offered respect. But Malik did not smile. Not yet, because wounds heal slower than rumors fade. Back home, Renee sat on the porch swing. Her body still weak, but her eyes are brighter than before. She reached for Malik's hand. "Baby, you did it. You stood. You survived." Dear viewers, have you ever seen pride so deep it pushes back years of pain? That was Renee's smile. Fragile, but real. Malik didn't run from the town that once mocked him. No, he stayed. He began tutoring younger kids, sharing the lessons of math and survival alike. He told them, dreams are bridges. Even if they try to burn them, rebuild. And slowly, piece by piece, Malik became what he always wanted. A builder. Not just of bridges, but of futures. Trey came one evening, eyes downcast, voice broken. He begged forgiveness. Malik listened. But forgiveness is not a door you open in one night. It is a path. And some paths take years to walk. Dear viewers, betrayal leaves marks. Not all are visible. Some sit beneath the ribs, quiet but heavy. And yet, Malik chose not to live in bitterness. Because bitterness is another kind of poison. Looking back, Malik said this, I survived not because I was strong, but because love would not let me go. My mother's voice, my teacher's faith, my own stubborn dream, these things pulled me back when death tried to keep me. Dear viewers, survival is not always loud. Sometimes, it is a whisper that refuses to be silenced. So what do we take from Malik's journey? That family can betray you, friends can fail you, the system can brand you guilty before you speak. But also, that truth has a way of rising. That love can drag you back from the very edge of death. That scars do not end stories, they shape them. And that survival is the seed of redemption. Dear viewers, Malik's story is one of pain, yes, but also of hope. He was the boy who nearly died, but rose again. The boy who lost everything, but gained himself. The boy who proved that even when the world writes you off, you can still write your own ending. So I ask you, if you were Malik, betrayed, broken, yet given another chance at life, what would you do? Would you fight? Forgive? Build again? Share your reflections in the comments. Please subscribe to Voices of Reality for more stories like this. And remember, dear viewers, life is fragile, but when you survive the breaking, you become unbreakable,